So, pardon? Is Bruce gonna be? Oh, Bruce. I don't know. Not at least, so
No,
we'll
we're
get,
not gonna wait.
yeah.
That's all.
yeah, I think,
I'm not gonna store.
but I'm sure we can just get going at least. It's 6:02. Can you hear us now, remote? Yes, okay, good.
At least
All
Scott's
right.
paying attention.
All right, well, thank you. I want to welcome everybody. This is a Board of Selectmen workshop, I guess, jointly with the Board of Finance to work on the budget. And tonight we have the Board of Education will be presenting the budget that's been approved by the Board of Education. So with that, then I want to invite the superintendent, Craig Cook is here. And yeah, if you want to go to the podium, and then is somebody sharing your presentation on the screen?
Yes, we provided to Jean.
Oh, Jean's gonna do that. Okay, great.
Share.
All right. So with that, I will turn it over to Dr. Cook.
Okay, all right, thank you. So feel free to stop at any point. It might be easier to answer questions as we go along, whatever you prefer. I don't have too lengthy of a presentation, but thank you for the opportunity tonight. We're excited to be here. With me tonight is Chairman Klaskin of the Board of Ed and the central office team. And so get some help if you ask some really difficult questions. So Jean, if you can advance the slide.
Hold on one second. It's not cooperating.
Sometimes it's tricky with that, I find, screen sharing or everybody.
All right, so I thought what would be helpful tonight is to share a little bit about your return on investment. You know, we are very appreciative of the support we receive from the town. Obviously, we couldn't do anything that we do without you know, the support of the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance. So you know, we had some really amazing news that the board received earlier this school year when the state did their rankings of districts based on their accountability results. So this is the state system that ranks districts on a holistic measure, including, you know, test scores and everything, physical fitness, graduation rates, some major things. We ranked out #1 in the entire state. So we were thrilled with that news. You know, so very happy with that. And, you know, obviously it's our staff and students that are really, you know, bring us to that level. We have a great administrative team. You hear me talk about that all the time. You know, and support staff is amazing, but really our, you know, teaching staff and students have really been, you know, amazing and working hard. And this, I think, reflects that. We're also the only district in Connecticut that has 5 schools of distinction. Schools of distinction are ranked in the top 10% of schools in their classification. So high school, you know, middle school, elementary, and so you know, again, that was fantastic news to receive that we're the only district that has all its schools. And so, Jean, next slide. And just a couple other measures. This is SBAC. Now, this is within our DIRT. So this is where we rate in math within our DIRT and percentage at goal. So again, only behind one district just by a few percentage points in math when you combine all of grades 3 through 8. And language arts, the next slide, shows similar results. And our next slide is our overview of our finances. Feel free to clap at this one as well. And so I will tell you a little bit later, you know, as we go through, I'll share the hard work that got us to this point. 3.41% is higher than we have asked for in recent years. But I will show that all that goes into this and then where we stand. And so, you know, I imagine like I am that you are, you know, reading local papers, watching the news and seeing what districts are seeing. We're seeing districts in the high teens for the first time ever, since 18s, you know, and even some districts real close by to us, you know, in the 12-13% range. So I think that we're seeing the results of inflation, higher collective bargaining contracts, and our next slide shows really where a lot of that comes from. So we are people-based organization, so the majority of our funding goes directly into our contractual agreements. You know, a few years ago, this would have been an average of 2%. So we're seeing contractual increases, much like the town and all the other towns around us, in that 3% range. So our average is 3.2%. And then as well, we did not see much turnover. And so to our benefit, to the students' benefit, we did not see many retirements last year. We did not see many teachers leaving us during the school year. Sometimes that on a budgetary standpoint, has a positive impact and reduces our increase in that area. But without those teachers leaving and retiring, and we don't want that. I think you're also probably aware of the teacher shortage, both locally and nationally. We've been not totally immune to that. So we've had some positions that have been very difficult to fill. The board's aware that we started the school year off down 2 special ed teachers, and it took about a month and a half for us to fill those positions. So it's not something that we are immune to, but we also are not seeing the major impact that other school districts are having. And again, we've been very fortunate to see a consistent staff. We do have the end of our ESSER ARPA grants. That again, this is something we see other districts grappling with at a different level. We had a grant of $1.2 million, and I think that we came out with a very forward-thinking, smart spending plan where we did not put it all either into salaries or things, but we did buy a lot of technology pieces. We did buy increase some staffing that was going to go away, and then we hired 4 positions that we knew we would want to keep at the end of the grant. We were very upfront with the board on that. These were positions we would have been adding if we didn't have the grant otherwise, and so we knew at the end we'd be looking at trying to continue that funding. And that's 2 social workers, so we ensure we have a social worker at each of our buildings, and then 2 academic interventionists, which had a big impact, I think, on those previous results that we shared. So substitute coverage, increased costs there. We need to continue to increase pay to remain competitive and find substitutes. Most days it's very difficult to find. We do have a reduction in force of 3 positions at Daniel Hand High School due to declining enrollment. Our other schools are increasing or staying steady, but Daniel Hand has declined, and so we're looking to decrease 3 FTEs. We're hoping to do that through attrition. We're starting to get in and have some conversations with people who are considering retirement. So we still hope that we can do that through attrition, and the high school staff and HR are working on that now. Also, when we have a curriculum cycle and the end of that cycle does come around, that we oftentimes are able to realize some savings. So this is a staff member going back to their previous position. They were pulled out to assist us in writing curriculum. So that's the $89,000 reduction. Payroll taxes and HR benefit, smaller benefit areas go up every year, as payroll goes up. And so that's just a function of those areas. Next slide, please. Just a little bit more information on the grant. As I shared, we brought out a funding plan for the 3 years with this year in mind. So it's not an ESSER cliff, it's more of a hill, that we're dealing with here, but it is important areas. And we had some great experiences with those staff members. It allowed us to believe add staff positions sooner than we would have otherwise. And there were some funding, there were some initiatives within that. We increased our ESS program at the middle school with the intention that would not continue. So that ended a year ago. So kind of brought that funding down as we got closer. Next slide, please. Again, something I know you're familiar with, the last 2 years, we have seen health insurance increases that we hadn't been seeing before. And so, we had 0s and 2% over a number of years that were, tremendous. It allowed us to keep the budget low, but we did see, from our consultant, they see a 9% increase for next year. Our employee groups have continued to help us offset this. Our teacher group pays one of the highest percentages in the state. Our administrators pay a high percentage as well. And we've done some great plan design work through collective bargaining. So thank you to Heather and our administrators, with the collective bargaining, we've been able to modernize our health insurance plans and really offset this increase. Again, we've seen numbers much higher in other places, but as you can see that, that it's our second biggest line item. So 1.25% of our overall increase is basically just for the health insurance. Next slide, please. Special ed, really another success story as well, I feel. Some of our neighbors are adding a number of special ed teaching positions, additional outplacements, items like that. So this is really just us keeping pace. We're not adding staff in this area. We have some minor increases on the bottom. We actually have a decrease in transportation, which is really amazing because of the cost of transportation really going up elsewhere. Basically, those public and private placements, that's just the increases in those accounts. So students that are outplaced, typically those agencies are increasing 3 to 5% each year. And so that's our method of keeping pace on that. But again, some other school districts, you see them having increases in the $1 million range based on special ed. So we're fortunate that we've been able to do a lot of programming for our students in-house, and had some students age out, but we're not without some challenges in this account. The state passed on an unfunded mandate just this year. Previously, students that were in our extended program where they graduate and then stay with us, it used to be until 21. It got increased to 22 a few years ago, and now it's to the end of their school year at 22. Excuse me. So if a student turns 22 in September, typically we would have transitioned them out in June. Now they will stay for another whole school year. So I think that we do amazing programming for those students and get them ready for life after our care. But that was a mandate from the state that we had no way to address other than increase our accounts. Next slide, please. Operating budget. So, electricity, pretty standard increase at 4%. Water was a big one for us, not a huge dollar item, but 18% for that. Custodial supplies, and then an account that has been traditionally underfunded. As a school district, at one point we had $700,000 in this account. We were, just about $425,000 today. Everyone's aware of, how much more anything we do in this area costs, whether it's painting, whether it's carpeting, whether it's, work on our schools. We use this line item oftentimes to fix things that might break during the year. You're well aware of the Daniel Hand rooftop units. We spend, a tremendous amount of money each year just to keep those afloat as they are. And even right now, we have some classrooms that are down and are impacted from that. Hoping to have a fix on that soon, but this is a line item, still underfunded, but we're working on catching up to where yes.
Good. The last item, planned and cycled maintenance increase. So you had some planned and cycled maintenance budget, and it's gone up because of.
Yes. So that was the account I was speaking to. That used to be 700,000. It's about 425,000 right now. And so what we're trying to do is play catch up in a manner where we're not, putting a huge increase on 1 year, but we're trying to catch up. But I will tell you that, at about $50,000, it's in some ways just kind of treading, water because of the cost of everything. So when we bring, somebody into paint classrooms at the high school, we're paying a lot more than we used to, just a few years ago. We're doing some of the work, carpeting, things like that. It's just so expensive. So we're trying to catch up and make sure we understand we're going, down to 4 schools soon, but we still have, a lot of work at, the schools that we continue.
Just one, thank you very much. So in this plan and cycle maintenance, so last year it was 439,500. We talked about bringing it up We have a set, but that was the budget. We have a sense of the actual expenditures from there.
Yes, we could, get you that, well, yeah, okay, so I can reply to you with that. We, that's the area typically that we have other accounts that aren't going to be fully expended. We try and put money into that and do some projects, whether it's at Brown School or elsewhere. I'll email you that next day or two. Okay, next slide. So we have benefited, as you know, from our expiring debt from the high school build 20 years ago. So we are in the second to last year. So this is the biggest year as well. So you see that at 585,000. It's about 0.95% of our budget. So our budget would be 1% higher if we didn't have the expiring debt. And you see the number there, 367,000. That will be the decrease for next year. So, you know, it's been something that's been beneficial to us. It's rare that it is on the board side, but it has been, you know, expiring over the last 4 years or so. So we benefited from that in our budget increase percentages. Next slide. So what's new? We do have some, you know, ranging from some small items to some bigger items in here. When we originally built the budget, we had looked at funding the Right to Read Act. So this is a state mandate we are dealing with right now at $600,000. So through our deliberations as an administrative team, we reduced this to $100,000. So we are not fully funding where we would be if we were required ultimately to purchase a reading program. So one of the reasons why I wanted to share our results early on was we feel we have an amazing reading program in Madison Public Schools. We have other districts contact us all the time to find out what we're doing. We have other districts visit us, contact Gail to, you know, see our curriculum, get more information, and we're very open with our curriculum. It's out there on the website. So probably not a month goes by without Gail being contacted by somebody about our curriculum. You know, we use teachers. We do have national programs that are part of that. We've supplemented where we were with great success. And so we are actively working with the state right now to receive a waiver on our program. When this came out in 2022, the intention was that each district would purchase basically a package program that we would implement. So one of the first things that Gail and her staff did was get the programs, get a grade level from each of those programs and share it with our staff. And they were very concerned because many of them would share that this was how they were teaching 20 years ago. They don't want to go back to that where all students receive the same thing at all the times. And so one of the programs that's been approved is a teacher manual and 20 student manuals, and you flip through, you know, on your own individual, on your pace together. And as opposed to where we are now, where each student is reading at his or her level and receiving instruction from our teachers and support from our paraprofessionals, but they do some whole class instruction as well. So, you know, I think our results speak for themselves. And so we're working hard through the legislative process, but also through the State Department. We've had one meeting with the state. The ball is in their court at this point. We're waiting to hear back from them, but we're also working. Chairman Klaskin's working through CABE. I'm working through the Connecticut Association of Public School Superintendents to have some flexibility with this legislation. And our two local legislators have been phenomenal. Yes, Kate.
What's the estimated cost if we have to implement it?
So what we wanted to do when we were building this budget, not knowing where we stood in that, was to provide the board and our staff with, you know, basically the most flexibility. So we put in what we felt was going to be the most expensive program, which was $600,000. And that would also require us to train our teachers on this. So it's a major change for this. It's a big shift. And so that would also be additional cost for training, and we would be doing that in the same summer that we're closing 3 buildings and moving into 2 different buildings. And so, you know, basically everybody within that pre-K to 5 apple cart's going to be upset at some point. They're going to be moving, and it would just be, you know, poor timing for us completely, not to mention, just philosophically how we feel and how our staff feel. In a lot of ways, I think this would be a morale killer for our teaching staff because they are well-trained. As I continue to have shared, we have, great, consistency of staff. And so we're not facing the challenges of some other districts that, are turning over elementary teachers and they would welcome a plan program. Also we have, we're starting to plan for our new school reconfiguration. So within this, we need to purchase additional STEM, additional music, instruments and programming for STEM. That's not a huge item, but we're starting to get that in there. Athletics, transportation increases. That's a pretty big item. I believe it was $45,000 to catch up to where we are. Our athletic teams, are smaller, so we're getting less money pay for play, but they're continuing to be very successful. Can't go in well into the postseason and travel around the state, and so we have run negative in that this past year. Classroom furniture. So these are just 2 classrooms where we don't have furniture for next year because we have a group of students moving up to a higher grade level that we don't have furniture available for them. Band uniforms, a big discussion on the board. This is a 10-year replacement cycle. So our current uniforms have been in use for 10 years. So we're hoping to order those uniforms and put them in place sometime into next school year. It takes about 90 days after order. So and it's a big item. It's $90,000 for band uniforms because we have to order more than we have in the band and it's expensive materials. I mentioned plan and cycle maintenance, and we have our accreditation visit, or our formal accreditation visit. We had a team out last year for NEACC. We'll have the formal visit where a team comes and stays overnight for 2 nights, and we show them around the high school, and they take a look for our accreditation. Next slide. Just another way we've always shown the budget, like how does this 3.41% get calculated? So as I've shared, mostly in personnel and health insurance, very, very small items in the other areas, and then the debt service decreases that. Next slide. So I want to show our comparable districts that we are aware of at this time based on what's been reported as board approved. So every town has their own budget process timeframe. We're a little bit ahead of others in terms of where we are at this point, having the board approve it. But we are the lowest in our DERG, and as well, I believe we are the lowest in the shoreline based on a meeting I attended last week, and the superintendent shared their percentage where they were. Again, I think it's the way we approach the ESSER grant, our work with collective bargaining, and also kindergarten entrance age. So you may have heard of this as well. I think we took a very practical approach to this, where we are working with families who feel that their child that's born after September 1. So the law previously was January 1. State backed it up all in 1 year to September 1. We would have liked to seen a more gradual approach, but we were working with our families who wish to seek a waiver. And so if their child is interested in, the family's interested in having them start kindergarten next year, we've already held 1 day where they would be screened and we could give them feedback. And not surprising to us that we felt the students that attended that 1 day were ready for kindergarten. So we're giving them that message. And so families will ultimately make their decision. I think this in Madison will ultimately have the impact that we will see students not starting, unless they're on that September cusp of that time frame. But these are families that have already done 2 years of preschool. They have been planning for their child to start kindergarten next year, basically probably since birth. And so, we want to work with those families, and we know we have supports to have them be successful. In our teachers report, by 1st and 2nd grade, because of the high quality preschool our families have attended and work here, that they don't see the age difference in the birth mix. Next slide. I think again, showing that we've been responsible in terms of our requests. We've had some really low years. It is increasing, just like most districts, but we're not seeing the huge jumps, which we certainly want to avoid. So this is my last slide. Open for any questions. I can always have Jean flip back to any previous slide if you want to say something, or want me to speak any further on the topic.
Hey, maybe I had a couple questions.
I do. So thank you for this. I know that, you guys have worked really hard and I've, as your liaison to the Board of Ed, have been watching your meetings and, I think we can all attest, it's a tough year all around. And not just in Madison. I have a couple of questions. One, we talked about at CIP at length with Emily and Galen. Thank you very much. But it's the furniture line item. So given that we're contracting schools, right, there'll be furniture presumably left in buildings that, is it feasible to begin to transfer some of that furniture and use it in the new school or split it between Brown and the new school so that we're not having to purchase all new, given that times are kind of tough?
Sure. So great question. I can give a couple examples of where that's going to work and where it's not going to work. So the new school will get all new furniture. That's part of the budget. So the new school will receive all furniture as part of their FF&E, in the budget for that. When we then look at Brown School, we have purchased furniture over the years, and so we have inventoried that and plan to bring as much as possible. Where that may not work is Brown School itself is very old furniture. I think as a district, we've kind of ignored that in the past, at times, and not refurbished or renewed that inventory. So that's a challenge. But one example is cafeteria tables. And so Brown has cafeteria tables that are set up for really 5th and 6th grade. It's being used for 4th and 5th grade. The cafeteria tables at Ryerson and Jeffrey, most of them are built into the wall. And then there are some other tables that we would use if we have to. But again, our hope is that our new, Brown will look as similar to the new school as possible in terms of some, those things within. And it's a very public cafeteria, so we hope to have, new cafeteria tables as an example. There's also some other places where we need to renew the furniture in the 4th and 5th grade within Brown School. So it is something we're, inventory now. There's definitely some furniture that's going to go over and save us money.
Thank you, that's helpful. And then my other question was about the band uniforms. So when I was on the board way back when, there was a cycle for both athletic uniforms. And as you said, this was 10-year cycle. So can you talk a little bit about that and how it wasn't kind of planned for in this budget?
Sure. So where band uniforms are different than athletics is we have a budget each year for athletics, and we have a recycle program of every 3 to 5 years, but we have money in there each year. And so one year we're buying hockey, the next year we're buying basketball, the next year we're buying lacrosse. Where this is different is because we don't have a savings account for this. It's just an every 10-year cycle. And so we did know last year this was coming. It was something we talked to the board about. And if we had end of the year funds, it was one of the things we had kind of looked at as a potential. But this is now at the 10 years. So it would be something that probably 10 years from now would pop up as, a big expense that, isn't there, because there's not that annual need, for that. So,
Is there a way for us to create an account for that so that every year we're putting a little bit aside? I think that might be a safety question.
You see me shaking my head.
Yeah.
The Board of Ed is not allowed to create an on-lapsing
Okay,
account like the town can. I mean, there are opportunities to work through the town or Selectmen Board of Finance to create a fund like that, and they can ask
at the end of each year to put money aside, but that's a whole separate process. The Board of Ed alone cannot create.
And I would say that, it's not insignificant money, but there's many items that we have that come up every once in a while. So teacher negotiations come up every 3 years. We put additional funding into our legal account. Because we know that those are more in-depth, negotiations. We have, other items that the curriculum person that I shared, so that was a position that was there for 2 years and then comes out. So there's definitely within our budget, within our operation, there's a lot of items that kind of come up at certain times.
Thank you.
I have a couple of questions. Thank you for that very detailed explanation. The external placements, I see that the request is 9%, $228,000 higher. Are we talking more placements or are we talking increases to negotiated rates?
Increases to negotiated rates with health placement facilities.
Same number of approximately.
Yes, I know that could change, tomorrow, but yes, and does, up and out. But yes, we have a really good handle on where students are at and their ages and what may be going on. And, as I shared, try and bring students back when we can into districts because we feel that's the best place for them. But that's really why and one placement could be 150 to 200,000. So that's current placements.
That kind of led to my next question. Do we have any high cost placements that are coming offline this year?
We have a few 22-year-olds aging out, or as I shared with that, and then we would have some, but then we know we have some others, coming up.
That'll replace?
Yeah.
Okay. Approximately how much, just ballpark figure, would you say is coming offline?
How much money or how many students?
Both.
I will get that.
Just
to you.
approximate numbers. If you,
I think it was 3 22-year-olds, and I think there was one other high cost student, and then in terms of dollar amounts, I think I'd have to go back to our chart on that.
probably our $150,000 placements or thereabouts.
I wouldn't want to guess.
Hard to say. Yeah. Okay, and my other question has to do with the increase in the health insurance. You mentioned that compared to other towns, our staff pays a fairly high percentage. Do you know approximately how much it is and how long that percentage is? Is it a percentage of the health insurance or is it a certain set amount?
It's a percentage of the health insurance. They're each negotiated differently, but our teachers, for instance, they're up to about 24% of the premium they're funding, and our other union groups would be in the range of about the 20% range. So there's been a lot of movement in the contracts over the years to increase the portion of the employees.
So if our increase is budgeted for almost 9%, our employees are paying 9%.
Plus, they might have a percent or a 0.5% increase that was also contractually negotiated.
Have we tried to negotiate that rate, or have we put it out to bid, or as far as health plans?
We put it out to bid last year. As you're aware, we're self-funded.
Yeah.
So the board has made a lot of movement over the last, I'll say, 8-year period and moving into high deductible health plans. So there was significant savings, which allowed us to have those very low 0s and 1% increases because of major shifts in the plan design. We're continually working on modifying some tweaks to the plan design to help mitigate costs. One of the major cost drivers right now is prescriptions. So that's been a lot of our focus, is trying to manage the prescription costs under the plan designs.
Thank you.
I apologize, I need to leave.
Oh, Seth, please don't go.
You wanted me to extemporaneously,
See you, bud.
see it.
Thank you.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Be balanced. Greg, I had a couple of comments and just for the board and the new members, we can't cut the Board of Ed budget and say, take 50,000 out of electricity utilities. we can go back and say, hey, work together. So we cannot pick a specific line item, it doesn't work that way. So I want to bring that up. So I had just a few general questions. Could I throw them out just one at a time or all at once, or how do you want to do that? First of all, it's just enrollment. What is enrollment projected over the next few years? What does it look like?
Yes, so we are, as I shared, we're going down at the high school. We're predicted to drop another 20 students or so for next year. And then,
Maybe a lot more in the future.
elementary wise, we're seeing the increase, the tick up. So that's, really exciting to see. We're hoping for new families to come in with students throughout the grade levels. That certainly is easier to plan for.
Right, the elementary is picking up, that should mean that
Yes.
it carries on through.
Yeah, we just received a NASDAQ report the other day, and that continues to show the predicted increase based on birth rate, family purchasing homes, things like that.
So the next one, I know we talked about health insurance, and I know it went up 1.25 since last year, but 8.8 since fiscal 23. And we're largely self-funded. Sometimes you don't know exactly how good or bad it is until the end of the year. So it's just something that you plan, you do your best and plan for. That was more of a comment. And Katie's comment about the band uniforms, and Stacy already answered, you can't have a revolving fund. So that's just something that we work through on this side. And I have an off the beat question for sports and specifically hockey. I know we're a co-op, girls hockey specifically. Do people pay from outside? I'm assuming our residents don't pay from outside the town. Do they pay?
So both do. Our residents pay at a higher rate. So the standard pay per play is $130, I believe. It hasn't gone up in a little while, but
I'm biased towards hockey. Go ahead.
Hockey is $1,400, $1,300 or
So
so.
we charge our residents 13, 14,
Yes.
out of town, same. So
Yes.
Yeah. As you know, with hockey, you pay for locker room, you pay for police officer games, and ice time is tremendous, and we're transporting them over. So it's a very expensive sport, but we're happy to have it.
that was it. I just want to make the point for the dual members of the board that we can't specifically cut line item.
Any more questions? What more questions? And then we have some people online, I know, we're going to open it up to any board members that have questions online, just raise, you can unmute yourself and jump in. So. No? Okay. Well, I do want to thank you very much. I mean, it was a very thorough presentation. There may be some more follow-up questions. I'm sure there's a lot of detail.
Yep, we have some answers to get to you, so we'll do that.
Comment if I may, Madam Chair, is that, first of all, the numbers in the beginning, on the reading the map, and the job that you're doing, the rest of your team, the team is amazing. I'm hoping that you can convince the state that you know what you're doing, and hopefully you don't have to do that, so it's kind of a little ridiculous. And then the last thing for everybody else is, obviously the Board of Finance work together, but still the public that gets to decide. You got to make sure that we're doing the best we can, so everything gets under the law.
And also just, we'll be talking about the town budget in a few weeks, and ultimately it's the two combined.
Yeah.
That is where the public ends up, they vote on two separate budgets, but it's that the two combined that impact them both. So that's always something top of mind, I think, as both boards review expenditures. Keep that
Total
word
package and the residents
down.
will
So, but once again, very appreciative and very excited to see those numbers actually, in terms of performance. It's just amazing. We have two kids in the district right now. The school district's doing an amazing job. So thank you for all the hard work you guys do.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, so no other questions? We don't have a public comment for this, so I guess meeting is adjourned. All right.